Halloween has finally arrived and I couldn't be happier about it. What other holiday gives you an excuse to marathon horror movies or dress up like pop culture icons and pretend to be a kid again? None, and that's what makes Halloween so special. Oh, you like my outfit? It's pretty neat, isn't it? I couldn't think of any costume more appropriate for this spooktacular occasion. Before we go any further, I need to set the mood. With a loving nod to the Godfather himself, let's do this! Yeah, that's more like it! Now to pick a game that matches the theme. What? Were you expecting this nerd to get angry? Please. Monster in My Pocket. Another in the late string of NES releases from Konami, along with Bucky O'Hare, which I don't think I can say any more about. Moving on. The plot derives from the comic book based on the action figures of the same name. The comic involved Warlock, the leader of the villains, casting a spell meant for Vampire and the rest of the good guys, which goes awry and shrinks every one of them. The tiny terrors then end up in the possession of a California teenager. Hey, brah, were you talking about me? No, Jake. Get out of here. Go help Allison with her spells. Okay, brah. Catch you on the flip side. Sorry about that. Where was I? Oh yeah, the video game. Like the comic, the central focus is the battle between Vampire and Warlock, along with the miniaturization curse, which is a linchpin in the level design, but more on that later. Let's marvel at that cover. Man, is it rad! I could have sworn I just heard you calling my... For the last time, Jake, I don't want you or your gnarly potential in my space, so get lost! Whatever, man. I'm gonna go hang out with old Zebster. He respects me. Yeah, you do that. Go bother that creep. Anyway, that cover is glorious. It really does a great job of inciting the urge to play it. I remember fondly that this was a multi-occurrence rental for me, and I'm sure that the thing that made it an insta-rent was this amazing artwork. Look at this colorful assortment of characters. These guys look like they mean business, particularly that glowing skeleton and the werewolf. Sadly, don't get too used to this menacing menagerie. These gruesome fellas aren't controllable in Monster in My Pocket. That's a colossal bummer, dude. Jake! Instead, the user can choose between the vampire, predictable as a Kardashian divorce, and the monster. If recognition alarms are ringing like mad right now, there's a reason for that. These, and the majority of the others featured, were based on mythology, science fiction, and fantasy, including the Universal movies. I'm no Monster in My Pocket expert. In fact, I have very little familiarity with the franchise outside of this 8-bit iteration and the animated spin-off, which I saw once. I'm not going to pretend that I know all of these freaks by name, though trust me when I state that pretty much every enemy encountered here is from the original Matchbox line, and I give it up to Konami for catering to the hardcore fans. Once a selection has been made, it's time for the story-establishing cutscene. We find the duo chilling out in front of their Konami brand big screen TV when their riveting program on the Space Channel is interrupted by that meanie Warlock. He's decided to ruin their Apollo mission marathon by sending out henchmen to exterminate them. Our verbose heroes will not stand for this. And before you can say Buzz Aldrin, level 1 begins with a rockin' tune. Remember how I said the hex from the comic would place prominently? Holy giant ghetto blaster, does it ever! The first environment is a house, and the terrain includes everyday domestic things like keys, beds, stairs, etc. Warlock sure did send out his minions, and in droves! The Dracula and Frankenstein's creation's mission to take down Warlock is hindered by the standard zombies, witches, and skeletons, in conjunction with less conventional winged creatures and dinosaurs. In their adventure to stave off annihilation, our beastly avatars are equipped with nothing more than a power punch to put the kibosh on the evil invasion. The control scheme is the standard NES style of A jumps and B punches, with a double jump being performed by tapping A twice and a crouching attack executed by pressing down in B. Leaping from platform to platform and walloping airborne foes while doing so is very smooth and tight. This is Konami after all. We wouldn't expect any less, and they deliver in spades. Again like Bucky O'Hare, coincidentally released on the same month and year. There are 6 stages in the game, and as they progress, the drama moves from the upstairs, to the downstairs and the kitchen, to exterior locations including a construction site, the un-PC Oriental Garden, and the final showdown at Monster Mountain. Each level has different real-world elements representative of the setting, like hooks, hot stove tops, and screws, and each has a boss fight highlighting some of the fan favorites from the series, including Spring-Heel Jack, Bigfoot, and the Kraken. The bosses are a bit tough at first, yet it becomes quickly apparent that the patterns are very simple, and soon enough, defeating most of them can be accomplished without taking a single hit. In fact, most of the difficulty doesn't come from the bosses, but from the barrage of smaller leaping and flying pests, combined with the flightless fiends on the ground, that make trekking through the area a hassle. It's in these instances when one has to make a judgment call. Face the bastards head on and rack up more points for extra lives, or make a run for it and try to preserve the precious few that are allotted. 3 per continue. There are health power-ups spread around each section to provide relief, but these should not be relied upon like a crutch. Put those platforming skills to the test and show them no mercy. This may be a Konami title, but it's far from Contra or Castlevania hard, even with the boss rush prior to Warlock, who is also quite the pushover. Monster in My Pocket is surprisingly on the short side. On my first attempt as the vampire, after years without experience at MIMP, I was able to complete it in about 50 minutes, exhausting all my continues. When I went back to finish it with the other character as a seasoned veteran, I had it down to 37 using just 1 continue. As with most NES offerings, after spending enough time with Monster in My Pocket, it can be breezed through with ease. Oh, and without delving too far into spoiler territory, there's a little bit of a twist in the ending that took me by surprise. For everyone's benefit, I'm not going to go in depth with the details and ruin the reveal. Give it a whirl and find out firsthand. It's more enjoyable that way. Despite only being able to play as 2 of the titular oddities in its very brief length, Monster in My Pocket, even though I never owned it in my youth, has always been one of my favorite NES games and one of the standards that define the console for me. It seems to stick true to its comic book origins, a simple task that not all licensed tie-ins did, so it gets my respect for that. The soundtrack fits the ghoulish vibe to a T with that classic Konami quality we've come to expect. And on top of all of this, and perhaps the biggest recommendation factor, it features a 2-player simultaneous co-op mode! Not many releases for the system can claim this, especially in the side-scrolling genre.
This could be a main feature of a retro gaming Halloween party with the participants cosplaying as the proper roles. That would be amazing! All of the above unite to paint a picture of one of the most overlooked post-Super Nintendo last generation treasures, and I guarantee that Monster in My Pocket will be some of the most fun 40 minutes you'll spend on Nintendo's entertainment system.
It may be tubular, but I bet it isn't totally rad.
That's it, Jake! This is long overdue!
Wow! This most definitely is not excellent! Hello, folks. Matt's a little busy laying the smackdown on Jake, so I'll close out the video. Monster in My Pocket is radically bodacious, so get a hold of it by any means necessary. With that, I head back to the underground world with my intelligent but incredibly ugly relatives. You've all been totally decent apprentices. Maybe we can do lunch sometime? Later, dudes and dudettes.